Welcome to the Interstellar Stories channel. In today's video, we're going to dive deep into a topic. The Israelites' condition as a result of their disobedience and disbelief is referred to as wilderness wandering. Exodus chapters 1 through 12 tell the story of how the Lord freed his people from Egyptian slavery around 3,500 years ago. God had promised their ancestors a place flowing with milk and honey, and they were to inherit this land. But before they entered, they started to believe that, despite what God had told them, they could not drive out the present occupants of the country. God became enraged because of their disbelief in his word and promises. He sentenced them to 40 years of wandering through the desert, till the generation of disbelievers perished, never setting foot in the promised land. Egypt was the destination of God's chosen people due to a 7-year famine. They first prospered under the direction of Joseph, who was Pharaoh's second in command. After that, a new king ascended to power in Egypt, unaware of Joseph's existence, and the Egyptians quickly began to fear the Israelites. The Israelites were held as slaves by the Egyptians for several centuries, during which time they were subjected to cruel labor. God eventually heard their pleas and dispatched Moses and Aaron to bring them to safety. Pharaoh eventually consented to free the Israelites after they had to endure the final of the 10 plagues, which was the death of the firstborn males, to inspect the area and its inhabitants. After exploring for 40 days, they came back. "We can't attack those people, they are stronger than we are," read the negative report sent to 10 of the spies. "Every person we saw was rather large. In our own eyes, we appeared to be mere grasshoppers." Only Caleb and Joshua disagreed. The people lost heart and revolted because they believed the 10 skeptics' testimony. They complained about Moses and Aaron, raising their voices and weeping aloud, lamenting, "If only we had perished in Egypt. Why is the Lord leading us to this place just to let the sword claim us?" Then the Lord spoke to Moses, asking how long they would continue to reject me despite all of my signs and wonders among them. "I'm going to ruin them and bring a plague upon them." But Moses averted God's anger once more by pleading on behalf of his people. God decided that not one of them will ever see the land I promised on oath to their forefathers, despite the fact that he had forgiven them. Nobody who has shown me disrespect will ever see it. Instead, they would endure 40 years of wilderness wandering. 1 year for every 40 days they spent exploring the area. God would also grant them their request. "I will do the very things I heard you say. Every one of you who is 20 years old or older will have your bodies fall in this desert." The 10 men who had brought the unfavorable news were also struck down and perished from a plague in front of the Lord. The 2 obedient spies who trusted God to grant them possession of the country, Joshua and Caleb, were the only ones who made it out alive. God had assured them of their triumph. They only needed to believe and obey, which they did not do in order to enter and conquer the area he had told them to take. God will never take us to a place where his strength or grace are insufficient to sustain us. Indeed, throughout the Exodus's plagues and wonders, the Israelites had witnessed the mighty hand of God at work. However, they did not walk by faith, but by sight, like many others, and God was not pleased with their unbelief. It is impossible to please God without faith. They were prevented from reaching the promised land because they did not trust God's word. This much has always been true.